Hey guys, Phil/Polygon here. Welcome to a little something different, random chat, talking Final Fantasy, the series, I guess, with Justin, the Visionary. What's up, man?
Yo, how's it going?
It is going well. Happy Sunday afternoon. We'll put a little timestamp on this thing.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, indeed. A couple of days deep into 2015. It's been a roller coaster ride so far. So, yeah, so for whatever reason, we were just kind of pinging each other back and forth on Steam on the chat, and it was sort of like, you feel like talking about Final Fantasy? Yeah, I can talk about Final Fantasy. It's just a wild hair up everybody's asses talking about Final Fantasy, because I did a little bit of a throwback with some older Final Fantasies recently, just kind of in off time and stuff like that. And I've been a longtime fan of the franchise. I know you are a longtime fan of the franchise, and so it was kind of like, you know what? There is nothing more cliched than you can do but talk about the Final Fantasy franchise. Like, of every gaming podcast, they have some. Or video show or whatever it is, they have some show where they will sit around and talk about Final Fantasy. This one was my favorite, and I hated this one, and this one was really interesting. I've noticed, at least, of any of the ones I've seen, there's always like the Final Fantasy show.
Yeah, I think they have to. I mean, it has such renown, and with all the attention that 7 got, or still gets even, it
still gets, and is about to get more with its release on PS4.
Oh boy.
Neat. We might get into that.
Yeah, I don't mind. I liked 7. I liked 7 a lot, but you know, people just that game. I think it's a great game. It's just I don't think it's as good as all the attention it gets. It was good. It was okay. Okay, I know we haven't even really got into this, but since I mentioned it,
go nuts. It's a random show. Let's be random.
I think it was good enough to deserve Advent Children.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is big, and it deserved enough for that movie to be as good as it was. It was a great game, but I think there were just too many cliches in it for me, and cliches are something I just can't stand.
You know, I thought, okay, not to derail us too far, but we're on Final Fantasy VII. Let's talk about Final Fantasy VII. I remember really liking it at the time. The first remake I bought, or the first re-release, I don't know if they've ever really remade it. They keep adding just the stupid little CGI additions and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right.
But like, when I went back and played it a couple years after I initially finished it on the PS1, like, I did not like it at all. I just hated it. I hated it. I really liked the music. I remember really liking the music, not as much as 6. But yeah, I just did not enjoy it.
Although I haven't played 6, I've heard all of the soundtrack, and it's phenomenal.
I think it's absolutely Uematsu's best work. But it was, I don't know, 7, it kind of, I don't feel, maybe it's a cliche thing, like, I don't feel like the story aged well. I feel like that was the first one in the series that just didn't make fucking sense. Like, when you get to the end of it and you start unraveling the puzzle and they start talking about the life stream and all this, like, I just did not think it made any sense. And it's crazy because, like you were talking about in terms of fandom and just sort of love and adoration for this game, it's gonna live for goddamn ever. Like, it keeps being re-released on platform after platform after platform. This thing is like this is like, I don't know what else is like that. Miss Pac-Man? Maybe? No, that doesn't
die, man. Jeez. It will not die. And the thing that bothers me the most about, like, the fandom with, I mean, I say bothers, I don't really mean like it upsets me, but that just kind of irks me, is the obsession with Sephiroth.
Oh yeah, he's the greatest villain in the history of villains that have ever practiced villainy.
He's so, like, okay, I give OG Dante shit for being a one-dimensional character. Like, sure. Sephiroth is the embodiment of a one-dimensional character. That dude is bad to do bad. That is it. There's no, I mean, there's like a little backstory here and there, and then it gets expanded on with that one game. I can't remember if it was like a pre-sequel. I don't remember what it was called. Yeah, it was a spin-off. I don't remember. Me and King Life Drain were talking about it on stream for a while.
It wasn't Dirge of Cerberus? No, that was Vincent.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe that was the game and he was in it. No. Fuck, I don't remember the game.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's alright.
But the thing is, like, what the game gives you, like what you were saying with the like how nothing made sense with the live stream and stuff. See, they presented like a lot of broad concepts, and the clearest example of that is Sephiroth. Like, broad. That's just, he's bad. That's all he is. He's bad. But they didn't go into detail about a lot of things, and I think specifically when you mentioned the live stream and all that, they didn't expand on the world, like, at all, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you get the backstory with, like, the factions and stuff and things that happened in the past, but as far as, like, how the world works, you don't get that much, and it's just kind of like this suspension of belief where you just kind of go like, oh, that's okay. That's how that works in that particular situation, but you start fucking yourself over when you're like, well, then how does this happen if that does that? And it's hard for me to recall examples because I haven't played it in ages, and you know, years ago, whatever, but...
That's alright, we've probably alienated a vast 70% of anybody that would have any interest in this episode, because we were talking, let's talk Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy VII is not good, I didn't like it. So fuck these guys.
600 people just left.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
Of the 603. So, okay, so I guess on that note, let's bring it back to let's start off with what we like, because I feel like asking somebody what their favorite Final Fantasy game is, however they answer, says a crap ton about that person in terms of like context of how they feel about the series, in terms of, I guess, in terms of age, maybe in terms of just the types of RPGs they like, maybe what they would consider the golden age of gaming or their golden age of gaming. So I think, okay, so like a telling question, a revealing question. What is your favorite Final Fantasy? And you can include spin-offs. You can include like Tactics, you can include Mystic Quest if you want. You can include Dirge of Cerberus,
Dissidia.
Oh yeah.
No, my favorite is Final Fantasy 9.
9.
But
good choice.
With the sort of offshoot that I think the best Final Fantasy game is 10.
Interesting.
If that makes sense. Like, I think it's the most well-made game, and it's probably the best story, like, objectively, as far as, like, how everything was, but I'm so connected to 9, like, the characters, the world, everything made sense, the places you went to, especially the characters, man. I loved all of them, and I liked how, each sort of character, every couple of characters, if they were sort of pairs, they had, like, their own story, and it would, weave in and out, and I don't know, I think it was really well done. I loved the shit out of it. It made me cry at the end when he took off his little hood.
I did too. I'd like the big reveal when he's doing they're doing like the play, and you think Zidane is dead, or Zidane is dead, and then he comes back and he says like whatever, he's like, bring my princess dagger back to me or whatever it is, and it was sort of like, oh, tear. I totally welled up at that.
I always get all choked up on the happy endings. Never the sad endings. Sad endings, I'm like a fucking brick. Like, I don't give a shit. But whenever there's, like, whether it's movies or whatever, it's always the happy endings that make me be like, oh, god damn it. God damn it. I don't know why. So what was your favorite? I'm gonna ramble on this all day.
No, that was a great choice. I think 9 was fantastic. Not hot on 10, but I think 9 was a great choice.
9 is also my favorite number. Ooh.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Did you like that movie 9, the little animated movie?
I thought it was neat. I didn't like it, but I thought it was neat.
Okay. How about District 9? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so so good choice on 9. I'm gonna say, I'll do the same thing. I'll say favorite and then what I think is the best. My favorite is 4. I really like Final Fantasy 4.
Can I make a quick little? This is all under the I don't know. I haven't played 1 through 6.
Ever.
So
ever.
No.
Not
ever.
even on like emulators or.
No, I keep waiting
okay.
for them to go on Steam sales, the ones that are out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're just like a
but
consistent
they're all like
$15. Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck? But I do really want to play them. And Final Fantasy games, sorry, I'll let you go in a second. But Final Fantasy games, and I think you'll agree, they're, a lot of them anyway, are like the only, or one of the few games that are like, some of them are really old that I can still go back to and enjoy pretty much just as much. Like, the graphics don't bother me, the reading text instead of hearing voice actors doesn't bother me.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. And I wonder I've wondered about this because I went back and, like I said, replayed Final Fantasy 3. It was a remake, the one they did on the DS in like 2007 or 2008 or something like that, and they just ported it over to the PC. That was the one you recorded,
right?
Yeah. So okay, I did the little 3-shot on that one.
Yeah.
And it was the type of thing where, like, I loved it. I didn't mind that it was slow, and I didn't mind like mashing through text in the little blue window or whatever it was. But I wonder if that is a little bit of like nostalgia forgiveness. I wonder if there's like nostalgia bumpers on that. Where
did you play 3 when it came out? I think you said you did in that.
No. So it was never released here. It was never released in the States until it was remade for the DS. That was the first one. And then
what I'm saying is, did you play that game prior to recording, or?
That specific game, I'm being dense. I don't know what you're asking. No, so like that version I had never played before. I did play the original NES version on a ROM that was translated, so I don't think I got like the greatest experience, but I had played it maybe circa 2000, I think.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was
did you beat it?
It was not completely blind. Yeah, I beat it.
Okay. I was just wondering if you went in like pretty much blind and still managed to enjoy it, even though, because I'm trying to think of ways to eliminate your nostalgia defense.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, and I mean, even if it wasn't specific to that game, I think for that style of game, like I still feel like I could go back and play Lufia. I still feel like I could go back and play any of the Dragon Quest games from like the NES and Super NES eras and stuff like that. I think I don't mind like the slow old style grindy RPGs, because I think that's sort of like what I grew up with and just absolutely fucking loved as a kid. And so I think I'm willing to cut it a lot of slack when I go back and play that stuff now. Whereas like I think if you started at Final Fantasy 13 and you went back and tried to play 1 or 4 or 6, it would be grim death.
Yeah, I had a bit of that. Like, I had to get over the hump a bit, because I actually got into the series way late. I started at 9, which, you know, I didn't beat it, but, like, my brother had it, and I played it for, like, an hour. That was my experience with 9.
Sure.
Like, literally, and I beat it, like, 5 years later. But, so I went back, I played 9, and then I played 8. I still have never beaten 8. I don't like 8. Like, I like it, but I get to a certain point every time, somewhere in disc 3, and I'm just like, no more. No more.
When you find the hidden city, spoiler.
Yeah, that's exactly where,
totally,
actually.
Yeah.
And then I went back to 7. I sort of went like, oh, no, I'm sorry, I got all wrong. I went 9, and then 10 came out, and I played through 10, and then I finished 9 after 10, after putting like 400 hours in 10. It was ridiculous on one save file. Yeah, I love 10. And then I played 8, 7, skipped 11, and then 12 onward.
Okay.
And I played 9 for the first time in like 3rd grade, 4th grade, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I don't know what year it came out, so I can't even get it. I mean, it's not relevant, so go ahead. I'm babbling.
Yeah, so I played 4. I think I was in 7th grade. So that dates me. But no, not 7. Did I say 4? Yeah, 4 in 7th grade. Yeah. And it was
was that like your first?
No. I played Final Fantasy on the NES, which was the only one we had out here. And I remember that was, so I didn't buy that game for a long time, and I rented it. And I just got so into that game that I ended up keeping, like back in the days when you could rent games. Like, I rented this game and kept it for like 3 weeks and just had the most oh my God, my parents were pissed because the late fees were like unfucking believable. But I just would not return this game. You're getting like calls from the store in terms of like, there's other people that would like to play this game. It's like, fuck those other people. I am playing this game. And finally went out and bought a copy of it. So yeah, I played the original one when it was released in the States on the NES. But then I bought a Super Nintendo for Final Fantasy IV. And then it had like it had a bunch of other shit on it that was fantastic too. But yeah, that was like the game, and so it just hit at exactly the right point in time. I think it was like a phenomenal game. I just loved the characters. It was the first time in any of the Final Fantasies where like your characters had strong personalities. I know they were named in 2. But But yeah, it was, you actually had character personalities and archetypes that were unique to that person, and you had a 5-person party, which is the biggest it's ever been. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely awesome.
So that was your favorite one. To eliminate the sort of digression, what do you think is the best one?
6.
6,
yeah.
Really? Okay.
6 as a game, like, it is just so well crafted and so well put together, and I thought that it was a really great harmony of mechanics in terms of everybody has something special about them, but everybody can use all the spells if you take the time to learn them with like the Esper system and stuff like that. And I thought that one had the most soul.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I'm currently monitoring really closely on Steam to see if it goes on sale. But from what you're saying right there, it reminds me a lot of how 10 works with the sphere grid.
It's not unlike 10. Like, you can cross over and it's, so it wasn't that deep in terms of customizing the characters. It's basically each little character, and there was a lot of them. I think there was like, I don't know, 14 or 16 characters. Like, there was a bunch of them. And it was cool because there were times when you would like have to split into 3 parties, and you could 3 parties of 4, and you could do that. You had enough people to actually do that.
With 2 left over, yeah.
Yeah,
there was 14.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I think that's it. It's exactly 14 because you could split into 3 parties of 4, and you'd have 2 people that were left out, Strago and Realm. But like, it was really cool. And then you learned magic by equipping these Esper shards that would let you summon. So everybody could summon, I guess, in some way. And then everybody could learn all of the spells as they gain experience while these shards are equipped. So you have like your character's special ability plus access to all the spells.
Okay, so because I've never played 1 through 6, I'm sort of going through comparisons in my head. So what it sounds like is Final Fantasy VIII system, except instead of learning spells in Final Fantasy VIII, you'll learn like HP up or whatever. You sort of attach magics to increase your stats.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Or like, you know, it reminded me a lot of, in Final Fantasy IX too, like when you had certain stuff equipped, you would learn certain skills.
Oh, yeah.
And so like that was very similar to the Esper system. Like that's how you learned your magic.
Yeah, are you referring to like how you would learn magic by equipping, like, say, gloves, or those node things that you'd get the points to? And
yeah, so they would have points. Yeah, they would have points. I think it was percentages in 6, and so sort of like you have you know, fire. You'd have Firaga 33% learned or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. I really need to play this game because I've seen some cutscenes, and I know cutscenes always like they look way better than the game actually is, clearly. And for some reason, cutscenes always sell me in Final Fantasy games because character designs are like fucking out of this world in those games. But I think what's his name? The guy. He's in like some big ass armor.
In which game? 6?
In 6, yeah.
Oh, so that's one of the cats at the beginning. He's one of the Imperial soldiers. You're probably talking about like Biggs or Wedge.
He's in. No. He's a. I know he's some sort of big character because he's in Dissidia.
Locke?
No, he's in like purpley black armor, I think. He kind of reminds me of Caius from Final Fantasy 13 too.
Oh, so that's probably Cecil from Final Fantasy 4.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant big ass armor, like as in Magitech stuff. So they have the Magitech armor, which is almost like mech type things. You meant like just armor, like
okay, just gotcha, armor, and it's
that's
like
Cecil. That's Cecil as a Dark Knight, and he goes through
the name.
Yeah.
Dark Knight makes sense exactly with my description or my image in my head. So I think you're right.
Totally. And he goes through. I got
mixed up then.
Yeah. So that one is 4. And I mean, that one is absolutely worth playing. Like, I don't know how the remake is. I haven't played that remake where it's like the little super deformed 3D people.
Oh God. Yeah, I'll put. Okay, so I want to play 6 really bad, but I think after that I'm gonna take your assumed recommendation of 4.
It's great,
especially since I know that character's there.
Yeah,
I always thought it was 6 for some reason. What trailer was I watching?
Yeah, I don't know. No, that was 4, and it was weird too. Like for the longest time, I was just confused as shit because that was 2 when it came out here, and 6 was 3.
Oh, right.
And so when you buy these things on the Super Nintendo, it's like Final Fantasy 2, and then you learn better. They re-release it as Final Fantasy IV, and you're like, oh, that one never came out here. There was nothing between Final Fantasy III and Final Fantasy VII. It's like, oh my god. So confusing for children.
That's what the Final Fantasy VII fans would have you believe, Polly. Nothing came after 7 either.
Nothing came, yeah, totally.
So what's, as long as we're talking about characters, what's, I mean, we can shoot shit about characters.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you have one or two you're particularly attached to?
I thought, you know, so I actually, I really liked, in Final Fantasy IV, I really liked, there was a character, Kane, who was a Dragoon, spear fighter with the jump attacks and all that kind of stuff. And he had a pretty cool, like, betrayal and redemption arc that was cool with him. I always liked him. And then I really liked, I actually kind of did dig Squall from 8. I always thought he was like just like curmudgeon-y and grumpy and like a dick to the world and all that kind of thing. But it was sort of like I was going through a phase like that at the time, and so it was sort of like, yeah, I can relate to Squall.
That angst,
And he has a really short jacket with fuzzy collar, so that, you know, makes everybody fucking cool, right? It works for Mad Max. Why not Squall?
He's got a sick scar that gets all the ladies.
Oh yes, that Cypher gave him.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Renoa in that game. I don't know. I really don't. I won't say I don't like that game, because I do, but again, like, I get to that point, and it's just like, mechanic-wise, it just doesn't agree with me somewhere. I don't know why. But I love Renoa in that game.
More than Yuna in 10? I get those two confused.
Yuna is cool. See, okay, well, as long as we're talking about 10, I love how Yuna and Titus I always called him Titus.
Yeah, I thought it was Titus.
Yeah, how their story played out, the little love story thing. I fucking loved that. It was great. And how I respect 10 a lot because it had just a great ending. I mean, like, you want to talk about like an emptiness?
Sure, totally.
Like, I loved that feeling. And that was sort of like, I almost feel a bit like jaded now when I look at stories, because that is my ideal ending for any story.
Interesting.
Because I loved that feeling so much. It was like, oh god, this isn't happy bullshit.
Oh no,
this is great.
Yeah.
And then
and the ending. So you know, spoilers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too just now. I'm like, fuck.
So okay, so let's put it this way: does the ending of 10 carry into 10-2? Is that like at the heart of 10-2? I never played 10-2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This actually won't spoil anything. The whole premise of 10 is you play as Yuna, Riku, and a new chick introduced in that game is Pain. And you're looking for Titus because you see an image of him trapped in a cage in one of those image spheres. I don't remember what they're called. You know, you look at them, they're like a projection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a hollow sphere? I don't remember.
Something. Yeah, I don't fucking remember. Yeah, so they're and that was sort of like, I think that's why I like 10-2 so much. I'm that guy who likes 10-2 because I'm just like, oh my god, they have to be together. I'm not even a romantic in real life. I don't get it. Yeah, no, yeah, that is where my obsession with 10 comes from a bit. But okay, so as far as like post 7 era, did you get attached to anyone else? Because I think like
wait. So we're all over the place, but I mean, there's so much to talk about. So
there's so many games,
and they're all so good except for this one. But the except for 10. So okay, so I do feel like we should touch on this too, because it's like you mentioned 9, I mentioned 4. I feel like there is like a schism in the Final Fantasy eras. Like I think 1 through 6, period. 7 through 13. Maybe 7 through 9, but definitely like 10 through 13.
I would say 7 through 9 because that's the PS1 finisher,
and those
right there.
Those still had, you know, I would throw 10 in there too. Like,
you know
10,
what? Yeah, no,
10
you're
still
right.
played like 7, 8, and 9. You still had the dialogue boxes and you still had control of your party. Maybe that's what it is. In 12 and beyond, you did not.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I'd say 7 through 10 too. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Side note. Okay, so of the second era, the 7 through 10 era, who did I like? I thought.
Well, what was your favorite game in that sort of?
Definitely 9. Oh, easily 9.
Okay.
Because
Nice.
7 I liked at the time, but when I went back and played it, like, one of the big things for Final Fantasy, one of the big draws that I remember, like, that's dear to my heart is the fantasy. 7 is where it became, so 6 was sort of like fantasy with a technology element. 7 was technology with a fantasy element, and I feel like those have been getting further and further apart since, with the exception of 9.
Yeah. Yep.
And so,
Well, I mean, yeah, I get the whole, like, steampunk kind of thing in 9. Like, there are mechanic stuff, but I think 9 is probably one of the most fantasy, setting-wise. How do I word that? I don't even know. Like, it's one of the Final Fantasies that has the most fantasy in it, as opposed to, like, the mechs and all the robotic technology bullshit.
yeah. And that didn't really start appearing. So I think like 1 through 5, there were like advanced civilizations, and you had like engineers. Sid was an engineer. Sid is always an engineer, but like, so you have like the airships in the first one. So like in the very first one, the airship was powered by a magical rock. Like, it was not a technological airship. It was a magic airship.
Nice. A rock.
Yeah, totally. It was the float stone or the floater stone or something like that you had to go on like this grueling fucking ordeal quest to get.
Sounds like someone just dropped a deuce in the ship.
The float stone?
The floater stone?
Yeah, floater stone. I think it was float. I think it was float stone.
Okay.
But
that sounds a little better.
But yeah, so it was, I mean, it was totally magic, like through well, no, there was a castle in the sky. Like, that technology element has always kind of been there, but
Yeah.
I feel like in 7 and beyond, it became the majority.
Yeah.
And less fantasy, with the exception of 9 again. And 9 feels a lot like 4 or 6 in terms of setting and tone, like in terms of the split between fantasy and technology. But yeah, so I really didn't, I didn't care for the setting of 7. I really didn't care for the setting of 8. I didn't come back and enjoy 8 until like years later. And so like,
I like the setting of 8 more than 7.
yeah, I do too, because it commits. Like, 7 tries to be both fantasy and technology, whereas 8 is sort of like, fuck this, we're technology. And 9 says like, fuck this, we're fantasy.
Yep.
And I wonder if that was like a design thing, or if 9 was a reaction to 8, because I know 8 like turned off a lot of people.
You know what's funny is I almost think that's like a conscious decision, because if you look at 10, the technology was in the first half.
Yeah, it goes.
And then he went like back in time or forward in time,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck it was. Oh god, I need to play that game over again if I don't remember that.
I haven't.
And that's like almost complete fantasy, almost.
Well, that makes sense if you're going, time. I mean, that makes sense. It's not the common era, but yeah, like when you have your big like Tokyo style glass and chrome city at the beginning. I mean, yeah. But then,
Oh, okay. Side note, because I'm going to forget. What's your favorite mini game in a Final Fantasy?
I liked. What was it? Was it 7 or 8 that had the card game?
8 and 9.
8 and 9. So I liked the one in 8. The one where, well,
Lots of people like 8. Yeah.
like the card game in 8, because I didn't really get into it, but I had one playthrough where I did like pursue cards, and there's a nice little twist as you like climb the card ranking chain in terms of like who the card masters are, and I won't spoil that.
Oh, yeah. That was 8.
But I did like that one. I know where you're going with this, and I hated the shit out of Blitzball.
You bitch. I liked the card game in 9 a lot more than 8. It's people call it simpler, but I think I don't know. I think just mechanically it's different.
See, I don't even remember it. 9. Okay.
9 was called Tetramaster.
Tetramaster.
And I loved Blitzball. Oh my god, I loved Blitzball.
Is that how you
dude.
spent like 300 hours in this game, just playing fucking Blitzball?
I spent about 100 hours playing Blitzball.
Oh my god.
Dude, it's so easy to get into it. Like, it has like the biggest barrier of entry to any minigame in a Final Fantasy thing because it's so weird.
Yeah.
But if you just put in Brother from the airship, he has like amazing stats from the very beginning, and then you start winning right off the bat, and then you learn mechanics based off of like what made me win. Oh, it was this, so this stat from him does this because he was clearly better than everyone else, and then you start trading players, and it's like
interesting.
Or not trading, recruiting.
Like,
but
I played the required games and decided, like, I am not going to pursue. Like, I have no interest in going any further than this. And I think I lost one of the like story advancing Blitzball games, and had to reload and like play it again. It was like, oh my god, this is grim death.
Yeah, you know what I actually like about that is Blitzball was incorporated into the world, whereas the card games definitely were not. Well, you could argue the thing in like the first 10 seconds of Final Fantasy IX when the fucking guy at the ticket booth gave Vivi the 3 cards, and it was like, yeah, whatever.
But it was like, it was definitely a side game. Like, you could completely ignore it.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Whereas, I mean, there was like, you know, plot advancing Blitzball games in 10 that you could not move forward unless you like do this weird 0G soccer crap.
Oh, it was great. It was fucking great. Water polo, soccer, volleyball.
Totally, yeah.
Okay. So back to what you were saying. I actually remember. So, your favorite character post 7?
Yeah. I actually really liked, who was it in I liked Sid in Final Fantasy VII. I thought he was cool. I'm a sucker for spirit users. I thought he was cool.
Oh god, of course.
And then who was it in? It wasn't like, I thought Amaranth was cool, but who was the Dragoon character in 9?
Freya.
Freya, again a spear user. But she was also a red mage, right? Or did she just look like a red mage?
She just looked like a red mage.
Okay.
Yeah, there was no red magic. There was black, white, and blue, and Quena was the blue magic user.
Well, because so there is no red magic anyways, right? Red magic is just the using both white and black. I think in the MMOs.
Oh, is that?
I think in the MMOs they expanded it to have its own thing, and so it's like you in like Final Fantasy XI at least, when you went on higher level boss fights, you had to have a red mage with you because they could just sit there and spam MP refresh on all your wizards. So it's like, if you built a red mage in Final Fantasy XI, it was the most boring fucking job on earth because you are in high demand, but all you do when you go out and fight, you never get to use anything except this refresh ability. Oh my god.
Oh god. How? I don't get why anyone would do that. That sounds terrible.
Well, because it was cool. So like, I actually played a red mage on my like, I didn't play Final Fantasy XI a lot, the MMO, and I just kind of, I played a red mage because I knew that I wasn't going to be playing that much, and it was sort of like, I like to use swords, I like to use some armor, I like to use white and black magic, so red mage is that, right? And it kind of was, but I don't know, in the early ones at least, like there was no red magic, it was just a red mage could use black and white magic.
Gotcha.
But lesser than like a white or black mage.
Okay. Huh. I've never heard that. I'm so like unfamiliar with most MMO terminology, especially in the Final Fantasy.
Oh yeah, me too. Like I played that little bit of 11, and it was just kind of like, nah, not for me.
What were you saying? Okay,
Freya.
so Freya.
Yeah, I dug Freya. I thought she was cool. I don't remember why. And maybe thinking back on it, it's because I just thought she looked cool. But I do.
She had a few things going for her.
I do
she
remember liking her like legitimately in the game. I just can't remember why. Like I haven't played this thing since it was on PS1.
Yeah, she had okay, well, she looks cool. She's a rat.
Yeah, she's a rat.
Yeah, and
like
then,
a kangaroo rat because she can jump.
Yeah, and she had that jump attack where she'd sit up there for like 2 turns or whatever, and then chuck her spear down. It was badass. Yep. And then she had a great story too. In the hell was the name of her city? The tree thing. The tree of Aoife? Was that it?
Maybe. I remember very little in terms of story details. with 9.
Yeah, that's like the one, like disc 3 is the one foggy area I have with that game as far as story goes. But no, she was a really great character, and she definitely made using spears and tridents and javelins and shit look cool.
Oh yeah.
You have to do those right because they're just like poke, poke, poke. There's no like flipping around like you can with a curved sword or something if you give someone like that. But
well, so that's I feel like Sid did that in Final Fantasy VII too. Like he would spin it like a bow staff or stuff like that. It wasn't just like a thrusting poke, poke, poke. He actually had some flourish to his spear use.
Yeah, no, he did one thing. I will certainly give Final Fantasy VII credit for is the animations. As far as like, not like how fluid they were, but like as far as like how cool they looked, like what you could do, like the different attack patterns per technique or whatever. Those are really cool. I
just hated the victory of like Cloud spinning his hand like some sort of robot with the sword in it, like it just rotates 360 degrees at the wrist. Oh my god.
I hate that. You notice there's always like an edgelord character in all the Final Fantasies I can remember. There's Vincent, clearly.
Yeah.
Who was the Final Fantasy 8 one?
Was it also the cowboy hat gunslinger?
I don't think it was Irving.
Irving, that's right.
Irvine or Irving?
Oh, it was Irvine. Yeah, Irvine.
Irvine, yeah. Okay. No, I mean you could argue Cypher. And then you could say, what's Sephiroth too? But then 9 had Amaranth.
Amaranth, yeah.
Yeah, he was, God, dreadlocks. Red dreadlocks. You could never see his eyes. That's always the thing. Like, it's always hard to see their eyes. 10 had Auron, the best character ever.
Auron, totally. Yeah.
Auron's fucking great. And then,
but I mean, he was also,
was terrible.
He was one of those guys that was like manufactured to be cool.
No, he totally was. And the arm thing?
Yeah.
The arm thing was so badass. I don't know why. It's like, dude, your arm's not broken. Is it? I don't get it. Because he'd bust out his arm in the fight, whenever you were fighting or whatever. He'd take like half his jacket off. I don't get it. It was fucking badass, though. Auron is cool. Auron did great swords right. Cloud looks like a dumbass.
I would agree with that, yeah. Yeah.
I just...
I don't know. Again, like, not to piss people off too much, I don't hate 7. I just really didn't like it on my second playthrough. Really enjoyed it on my first one. I think it ages terribly, and I'm a little bit baffled at, like, how it just... It's a zombie. It just, like, will not die. It just keeps getting up.
Yeah, I think that's like the primary reason I'm a little incendiary when I talk about it, because everyone loves it so much, and it's like, no, guys, stop it. It's not like, I get it, it's good, but it's not that good. You guys need to calm down. I think I overcompensate with the assertion of my opinion.
Well, and I think it was, it did a lot really well, and it did a lot of stuff that was like fairly edgy at the time. Like, I feel like the PlayStation as a system was a maturer system than like the NES or SNES. So there was a lot more adult themes in it. Barrett would swear, kinda.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to mention, I'm fucking glad as shit that game exists, because it did amazing things for PlayStation or Sony.
Sure.
Or PlayStation.
Sure.
Just as oh my god.
Well, and it was like, and I mean, I think that sort of, I'm trying to think of how to say this without spoil. So the big spoiler of Final Fantasy VII that happens at the end of Disc 1, in the days of like Disc 1, like that was the first time you ever saw anything like that too. That was the first time you ever came across that, at least in the Final Fantasy series, in terms of like, oh my Christ, did that actually just happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll give it that. Yeah. That was a pretty cool moment. It's really hard to like go back now.
Totally.
Because the graphics.
Totally. I think it was one of those, like, at the time, that was, for me, I would like definitively say that up until that time, that was the greatest moment I had ever seen in a game. Not in terms of like, hurrah, cool, but in terms of like, oh my god, like that was a real like movie style moment. Yeah,
and I think that plays into why the game ages really poorly, because all of the high points in that game are they're focused on like either action or some sort of like an element of like badassery.
Sure.
And those don't age well. Whereas like if you look at Final Fantasy IX, the big points in that are always the story, drama points. And I think drama obviously ages way better than, you know, something visual.
Look at Hitchcock, yeah.
No, well, yeah. The more I talk about 7, the more I give it shit. So anyway, to my answer for my favorite character, since we lost it somewhere in there. This is the harder decision for me because I get attached to characters more than stories. My favorite character for design and relatability is Lightning, and people can give me shit about that all day.
Interesting.
Because the biggest argument against Lightning was she was the most unrelatable character ever, and I'm like, no, that is me in a woman's body in a Final Fantasy game. Yes.
I can buy that. She has kind of a Squall thing going. I mean,
Yeah, Squall's more like angsty teenager. Lightning's more like apathetic and I have a duty kind of.
Sure.
She has conviction. Sure. She has almost like indiscriminate conviction, and I love it. But I think if I had to go some sort of like not a second favorite, but someone I like for different reasons, just like the presentation and like how crucial they were to the story and the things they did, I'd have to go actually Caius Ballad from Final Fantasy 13 too. He was the main antagonist. Okay. And I am a little biased on that because he is played by my favorite voice actor, Liam O'Brien. But
oh yeah, nice.
Oh, so good. Now, as far as like the older era though, I gotta go Garnet.
Okay. Slash Dagger.
Final Fantasy 9. Yeah, slash Dagger. I don't know, like this. I think the singing got me. I have a thing for characters that sing. When she was on the thing at the inn and whatever the hell that village is called. That's what I knew, man. That's what I knew. Or when they're in the telescope thing. Oh,
wow. So you went through the entire game feeling lukewarm about her until you saw her sing, and then you're like, "Yep, that did it."
Well, it was disc 1 though. It's right after the oh god, what is that thing called? The something grotto, where you fight the Gizmaluke.
Oh, right.
Gizmaluke's grotto.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it's right after you go through that, and you end up in the village before you go into the big airship.
Okay. That's right. I forgot they were a theater troupe.
Yeah. Tantalus. Yeah. Oh, that was great. No, yeah, I don't know. Something about her design, too. I also have a thing for long black hair on female characters. Fair enough. I don't know. It's a lot of superficial things.
Fair enough.
She wasn't... I don't know. She wasn't, like, really outspoken. Like, she didn't say anything, like, super profound that made me like her. She was just like, I like her design from, like... I don't know, superficially.
Like, when she turned into... When she put on her swashbuckler garb, she got a lot cooler. Like, the leather pants and suspenders and, like, the pirate blouse.
Yeah, she reminded me of another character from 8 that I can't remember with the get-up.
Interesting.
I don't remember.
Was it in...
Maybe it wasn't 8, because there was Selphie, there was Renoa.
Quistis.
Oh god, I love Quistis. Quistis had, like... okay,
something about those school marms?
Dude, no, another thing. This is like... I don't know, the sexy librarian thing. Totally. Love it. Love it. Love it. I'll get off that real quick.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I hear you. I don't know if I'm with you with Quistis, but I hear you as a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I really didn't like her whip thing, though.
Yeah, but that kind of plays into it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I guess if you're into that sort of thing.
Alright.
I'm not.
Slowly back away.
Exactly. Leave it there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with both of the people from 13 and then like Garnet if we're talking OG PS1 days.
Cool. Interesting. Let me think who I liked in 13. Because
did you play only 13? You ever play 13-2 or?
No, I did not play 13-2 because actually I didn't. I got like about to end game in 13, and then I think moved and didn't unpack my PS3 for a long time, and when I finally did, it was kind of like nah. And so I just sort of like ran out of gas on that one. But it was kind of a slog for a while. Like I didn't enjoy it that much because I didn't enjoy 13 or 12 very much because I really hated the fact that you lost control of your party. I really don't like I don't like the tactical system. I really liked, telling this person to do this and this person to do this. And I will say, like in 13, they were pretty good, but it was one of those things where I didn't like how there was a couple of bosses or mini bosses and stuff like that where if you didn't have the right tactic immediately, it would be like a 3-second fight. You would just get completely annihilated.
Yeah. They started that whole trend with like shifting the battle mechanics away from like the, I don't know what to call it, other than like the Pokemon style of that sort of turn-based style. In 10-2, when you had like the outfits, kind of like 13 Lightning Returns, where you had like the outfits that dictated your role, so you could like switch. Did you ever play 10-2 at all?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, you equip like certain outfits and it would change you from like a mage to a warrior to like a berserker or whatever the hell it was called.
Interesting.
You could do that for 3 people.
Is that because you only had 3 people? Could your party expand beyond Yuna, Rikyu, and who was the other one? Faye? No,
Pain.
Faye was in 13.
Pain.
Okay.
Yeah, P-A-Y-N-E.
Okay.
Or was it I think it was I-N-E actually. Yeah, you had those 3 from beginning to end. Yeah, I think it was to alleviate that because I forget. In 10, you also had 3 people, correct?
Yeah, but you could swap them out like on the fly.
That's right. Yeah, I think that is deliberately why they did it, and for whatever reason, they thought that was a good move and went even harder with it in 13. Or no, 12. I forget 12 exists because I hated it so much. 12 was just bad.
Evilise, dude.
The combat.
Evilise was cool. Actually, so I liked the non like blurring loading screen when you got into combat.
Yeah,
because it was just sort of like it was like seamless in running. It almost seemed like a action RPG type thing because you would just come across enemies and then suddenly be in battle mode. Versus like running around on the map and then changing perspective completely and suddenly there's 3 other people with you.
Yeah, what really took me out of that whole system is seeing the enemies patrol.
Sure.
Just kind of, I don't know, something about just the aesthetic of it just looked dumb. I don't really know how to describe it. And I don't know, and the whole like hitting the action button and then waiting for the ATB to load and then you do your attack.
Yeah.
Like for that kind of system to work, it needs to be immediate. Like, you can't be in between an action RPG and a turn-based system, otherwise you're just kind of frustrated. Like, I remember there were some abilities where you'd hit, the action button to select whatever ability, and then there was so much time on it where you just kind of ran around in circles waiting for it to activate.
Sure.
And it just felt really fucking boring and tedious.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I'll sort of echo Hero when I say this. When I saw how Lightning Returns was going to play out with the whole single character, it was fast paced. That they advertised it was like fast paced, whatever. I thought it was going to be an action RPG, like sort of in the vein of like Devil May Cry and maybe Ninja Gaiden or something like that. And then the end product wasn't terrible. But it wasn't an action RPG. It was still like I mean, when we're talking about like the evolution of like how far we come, like they need to stop doing like the weird augmented hybrid bullshit. They need to commit to either like turn-based, like just I don't know, classic turn-based, or just go like full retard into the action RPG or an action game. Yeah, like, I would be totally cool with just an action, especially with Lightning. Lightning's, like, I think... I think to a certain extent, all the Final Fantasies up to 13 focused on a set of characters, where 13 has always been about Lightning. Except, you could argue 13 too, because you don't play as Lightning unless you buy the DLC where you play as her for like an hour or two or whatever.
Yeah.
But the entire time, like, she was still like the most crucial part of the story, and you spent the entire game trying to get to her. And I don't know, like, I think that's really where they needed to go in that game, and it kind of was a letdown, because that's my favorite character, but... I don't know what... I don't know what I started on that tangent originally for, but...
Battle mechanics in 12.
Oh, oh, is that where? Yeah, so that was sort of... I think that was the worst formula they've come up with that weird hybrid kind of thing.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. I know it sounded like I was defending it before. I was just, I don't know, silver lininging, I guess, but...
No, that's...
Yeah, no, I was not a fan of it either. Actually, I didn't finish 12. I picked it up, like, I was skeptical about it from the very get-go. But I was really excited about it just because it was set in Ivalice, and I love the shit out of Final Fantasy Tactics. Oh my god. Of any of the games, maybe 4 and 6, like Tactics is right up in there too in terms of time that I have spent in these things. Like, that is just a badass little gem of a game.
Yeah, we've mentioned it before, in like a previous, I think it was during the Q&A discussion. I have no problem with Tactics, like, I can't fault it for any reason. I just do not like the what do you call that? Like the strategy type RPGs where you like move like spaces and stuff.
Sure.
I can't stand it. Like, as a mechanic, doesn't appeal to me. But I mean, I think that game deserves all the attention it gets, or all the love it gets from its fans.
So like, you never got into like Ogre Battle or Fire Emblem or any of that stuff?
No. Oh my god! I wanted to get into Fire Emblem so bad, and I can't. It's just I don't, because I like fast games, and I could like
they're not
talk
fast.
about
They're definitely not fast.
Yeah, like that's also a big reason why I wanted the Lightning Returns to be, you know, an action game. Or that's a large part of why I like Demon Souls as opposed to Dark, because I mean, we've said it before, like, the games have gotten progressively slower.
Sure.
As far as combat and all that goes. And just speed, man. I'm all about that speed.
That's fair. But I mean, okay, so that's not fair though. Like, saying like a strategy game is slower than an action RPG. I understand what you're saying in terms of like just personal preference, but I mean, that's like apples and kumquats. Oh,
absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, it's not a genre that appeals to me, and that's fine. Like, I can even recognize it from, I'll watch Let's Players play it if I like them, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But I can't do it. Like, I can't sit down and commit.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I remember like playing all those games, like with Tactics, especially since we're talking Final Fantasy, we'll limit it to Tactics. But I remember there was like some battles that would go on for like, I don't know, 12, 15 minutes. Like, you would just be moving around this little gridded square for a long time. And then like, especially later when you can teleport, you teleport away and pop a potion. Then the guy would come over to you and you're like, I'm not ready yet. And so you teleport somewhere else and like equip a different piece of armor. Like, if you were playing it, when you were like down a couple of your people had turned into crystals, so you can't even wake them up or whatnot. It became like this big.
Is that like petrify?
No. So it's like, when your characters die in Tactics, they go down, and then you have 3 turns to get to them to revive them. And if you don't, they turn into a crystal, and then
I remember, yeah.
And one of your characters can pick up the crystal and like get some of their abilities, so it wouldn't be a complete loss, but like that character would be gone. Or the enemies could pick up their crystals too, and then it would just be gone forever.
That's a really cool system.
I thought it was spectacular. Yeah, I thought it was, and it put a lot of urgency around death. Like, your characters could perma-die.
Yeah, and I think that is I mean, it wasn't enough for me for obvious reasons, but I think that's a fantastic way to, like, speed up the combat, even though you're literally not speeding it up. Just that sense of urgency that creates.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's really cool.
I mean, you panic. So, like, if you send one of your guys ahead, he just like charges out or something and then gets surrounded by 4 enemies and like drops in a single turn. Because that would happen a lot too. Like the damage, like if you got hit about 3 times, your character would drop. And so it was like you had to be really tactical in terms of who went where and how much damage somebody could take. But it's like this guy charges out there, he gets surrounded by enemies, go down in a single turn, and everybody on your field is like helpless to get this guy because it's like they can't run over there and resurrect him because they're just going to get dropped too by these other. Oh my God. I thought it was so tense. There was like some really tense battles.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I mean, you have to be familiar with this, that when you get stuck on potion loops or cure loops.
Totally. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, God.
Absolutely.
Frustrating, panicking thing.
Until you hit that one turn where like the enemy goes first before you can pop the potion and then the fight ends.
Yep, or they use like defense.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the
AI
glitches out or says like, okay, I understand what's happening here. But yeah.
Oh, God. That's always a bitch.
But yeah, I really liked tactics. I really liked a lot of them. Actually, okay. So maybe we've rambled about this long enough. Maybe not. Let us know. But if maybe in closing, just because we're out of time, we're getting played off. Yeah.
I hear the music.
Okay, so of the Final Fantasy games that you have played, can you order them in preference?
Yeah, should we do top 3s?
All right, we'll do top 3s.
Let's do top 5 because I can already guess your top 3.
All right, fair enough.
Let's provide additional information here.
All right, cool.
Okay, so 9, 10, 13, 2, 10, 2, and Lightning Returns.
9, 10. So 13 is not in there.
No, I didn't like the original 13.
Interesting.
I eventually finished it, but no, we talked about it on one of the Q&A.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That was one of the primary reasons I didn't like 7 that much either, is because the military aspect. Of it.
That's right. It was And that's. Yeah. I feel like that's. I still feel like that's odd because you like that she's duty driven. Interesting.
Yeah, well, okay. Maybe duty is too closely related with military. I emphasis more on like the conviction side.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, determination.
Cool. All right.
So what about you?
So I will go 4 and 6, obviously, and then I'm gonna go 4, 6 tactics.
That's why I said top 5 because I knew that.
Yeah, 4, 6 tactics. And then I would probably go 9. And then I would probably go 1. Man, I have a very special place in my heart for 1. Like the Light Warriors, dude. That shit was awesome.
I know nothing of 1. We should revisit after.
Yeah, it's old. It was like 1988. I don't think you were even alive, dude.
Nope, 2 years till.
I don't think you were even alive. Jesus. Yeah. So I'd go. Okay, so 4, 6 tactics, 9, 1.
I have to. Okay, so I'm gonna keep up my pattern, and I'm gonna work backwards. Is 5 worth playing?
5 is pretty interesting. I would say 5 is really cool because it's like the first. It's not the first appearance of the job system, but it's like a well done job system where you have your 4 main protagonists who are just complete blank slates, and then you can say like, I want this guy to be a fighter, and this guy's gonna be a mage, and this guy's gonna be a.
Was 5 the one you did 3-shot?
No, that was 3. Oh. That was the first. That was so.
Right.
They basically remade 3 to be 5, except 5 is better because you can retain one of your previous job skills. So it's like if you were a fighter, you'd get fighter style classes, or you were a knight, you get knight style classes, and then if you were a black mage, you could retain your fighter skills as a black mage. That would be a terrible, impotent thing to do because you wouldn't have good weapons or armor or stuff like that. But it's like if you were a black mage and a white mage, for example, you could be a fully powered up black mage and white mage versus a red mage. And you could do really interesting things. So it's like you could be a fighter and a dragoon, so you could jump, or you could be a dark knight and a summoner, so you could summon shit and stuff like that. So it's like
nice.
It allowed for really deep customization. The story is pretty unintelligible. Like it is just
Everywhere?
Yeah.
All over the place?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think your main character's name is Butts.
Okay. Quick little note before we end this. Do you change any character names?
There was one playthrough. So when I was like playing the shit out of 4, I would change it to be like my friends and me, and be like, oh yeah, I would be like,
nice.
You know, that kind of thing. But not usually. No.
I have never changed the name ever. I'm just curious.
Definitely not for a first playthrough. Not for a second, not for a third. It would be like some novelty thing, or if you're a stupid kid. And I'm neither of those things anymore.
All right, yeah. So since 5 is worth playing, I'm just gonna go completely backwards from 6 now. I'm just gotta wait on 6 to go on sale because I ain't paying $15 for a PS1 game.
No, that
wasn't even PS1. What was that?
That was NES. No, SNES.
Okay.
4, 5, and 6 were all Super Nintendo.
I'm not paying $15 for that. Come on, Gabe.
But I would say, let me not advise this. I would say do 6, 4, 5. Because 5 might get you hung up just because it's so, like...
Okay.
A lot of people say it's like the best one ever, but a lot of people also like Britney Spears. Like, it's one of those things where you just kind of...
You just kind of gotta ignore.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. 6, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1.
That's the way I would recommend it.
Perfect. All right, and then maybe we'll come back to this.
We could come back to this. I feel like there's plenty more to talk about. I mean, it's like this long running. It spanned like every goddamn era of gaming.
Yeah, no,
aside
it really
from like Atari. Like starting from the NES, it has been in every era. Maybe not on every side of it. There was never a Sega side during the Genesis days, the Master System days, but it has been out there on some platform in every generation, and that is pretty damn cool.
Yeah. No, I love the shit out. It's my second favorite franchise, right under Metal Gear Solid.
Interesting. Was there a SNES Metal Gear Solid? I don't think so. I think it was on the NES, and then like Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 were on the NES. I don't think there was one on the Super Nintendo, and it didn't come back until PlayStation.
Well, no, the original Metal Gear was on fucking some Japanese system that I can't remember the name of. It was like 3 letters. I don't remember what it was.
The Metal Gear Solid?
No, Metal Gear.
Because Metal Gear was on Nintendo. Like, I played it on Nintendo.
Well, no, I don't think... I think that was sort of like a Final Fantasy one where it wasn't the actual one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. Oh, it's been so long. But yeah,
cool.
Okay.
Cool.
I was going to say something. I can't remember what it is.
It's alright.
Oh, okay, so in the meantime, while I'm doing that, I would recommend you to play 13-2. And I know you're skeptical. Alright, so you don't like 13. And you should approach it not expecting a Final Fantasy game.
Okay.
Because you have 2 people throughout the entire game in your party.
Can you control them both?
You can control them both.
Okay, that's a plus.
Yes.
That is a plus.
And I think the mechanics do well with 2 people. And there's a great villain. The story's very... There are areas you can get lost because, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil too much, but like you kind of select areas to go to on a chronological, literal timeline. So you kind of go back and forth through time. So you can get lost, and there's a lot of collectibles you can get little bonuses from. So I didn't personally, I don't bother with like side quests and shit. So I just kind of went straight through.
It's a black hole.
Yeah, but I think it has the best villain in the Final Fantasy series, and that is Kai's Ballad, voiced by Liam O'Brien. Yeah.
So, okay, so here's a...
And it just got added to Steam, so...
Oh, it did? Okay, so that's done. I was going to say, can I get it without having anything physical?
Oh, yeah, I think it's on sale right now, too.
That's done. All right, cool.
Yeah. All right, let's call it.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for dropping by, scratching that itch to talk Final Fantasy.
Not a problem, sir.
Cool, man.
It was wonderful.
Nice. It is good. It's good to just like talk about random shit. And thanks to all you guys for listening. Let us know what you think. Let us know. So here's a question for you guys. What is your favorite Final Fantasy and why? I'm curious about this. Like,
what is your favorite Final Fantasy and why is it 7? God damn it.
Why is it 7? Or why is it 5? Because I mean, there are so many people who say like Final Fantasy 5 is the greatest of all of them, and I've never gotten it.
I've never even heard that, so I would really like to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think too. Comments, thumbs up, thumbs down. It's all good. Go give Justin a look on his channel too. I'll throw a link in the description if you're not familiar with him. xTheVisionary X. Oh, wait, is there an X at the end?
No.
Oh, it's only at the front. xTheVisionary. Okay, cool.
Oh boy.
We'll throw a link to it. But yeah, dude, thanks for chatting, and
Absolutely.
I will catch all of you guys later. See ya.
Bye-bye.
But you get out of the way, and suddenly the house begins to disintegrate around you until it splits in two. And you see the back half of the house just fall away into oblivion. And you just hold on for dear lives to anything, any railing, any
My
bookshelf.
bedroom in the back half? Or?
Your bedroom was in the back half.
Sorry about where you grew up, Jim.